5 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. I got a memory I was just thinking about because of our next guest's topic. When I was a kid, Robin, I lived in New York, and I was visiting my grandmother who had moved here to Florida. And so I was in the swimming pool all the time because, well, that's what you do when you're visiting Florida and you're with your grandma. There's probably not a whole lot else to do. So I was in the swimming pool a whole lot, and I got this worst earache. I remember the earache just making me feel really bad. And my grandmother heated up some cooking oil on the stove and poured it in my ear.
Oh.
No, I'm sure she didn't heat it to the point where it was scalding, because it didn't scald me.
Oh, yeah.
But it immediately, I am telling you, and I'm not recommending you to do this because I don't know what she did exactly or how hot she got it. But I remember, Robin, immediately it felt better. Immediately.
Oh, my gosh.
Really did. It really did. And I don't know if our doctor's going to like that idea, but I'm just telling you, I remember it. Dr. Cass Ingram has been with us before, and gosh, he's world renowned. A lot of people know Dr. Ingram. He had a book come out 20 years ago called The Cure is in the Cupboard, and there's a new edition he's going to talk to us about. The title alone tells you why I brought up my grandma's story. Dr. Ingram is a nutritional physician, a lecturer, a contributor to radio and TV programs. He's a researcher, one of North America's leading experts on the health benefits and disease-fighting properties of wild medicinal spice extracts. So we're going to pick his brain. Good morning, Dr. Cass Ingram. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. It's been too long. How are you getting along?
Very long time. Where are you calling from?
I'm from Chicago, the big city, whatever it is, you know.
Chicago. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you for being on the air with us today. Hopefully you could hear my intro. Did you hear my?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that where Grandma puts hot oil in the ear?
Yeah, and sometimes they'll use olive oil. I mean, it's not the best idea to plug the ear with that, but the oil acted as like a germicide, was probably what it did. Hot, and also vegetable oil has a little bit of a germicide, what they call the essential fatty acids. So it probably kind of knocked out, well, God bless her, she did what she could, whatever you picked up in the water.
Yeah, really. And I'm thinking, okay, so this would have been in the 60s, like early 60s.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing everything you just said that scientifically supports it wasn't even in her vernacular. She probably didn't even.
No.
She probably learned it from her mother or something, right?
Yeah, for sure. And so a lot of times, the reason the Cures in the Cupboard's done so well is a lot of times disease is due to chronic infection or acute infection, and not the kind that you need antibiotics for. But you can have an earache from fungal, like from swimming. Children, they can eat so much sugar and sweets and so forth. They can get a reaction. They get fungal infection in the eustachian tube. People that get ringworm, athlete's foot from the gym, jock itch, vaginitis. These are all fungal yeast infections.
Vaginitis. What do you do for vaginitis?
Well, that's what they're doing now. Is that they're putting in oils.
Hot oil?
No, it doesn't have to be too hot.
Oh, it doesn't be hot. Okay.
Like extra virgin olive oil, like the lavender oil, sage oil. They're all germicides, and they're working for that condition. So there's some of it's, they call it sort of old wives' tale, which is kind of a put down. Some of it has some scientific basis.
Yeah, and some of it.
For example, on mustard plaster. Mustard's a germicide. They would put them on the chest and on the feet for colds.
Oh, really? So let's talk about some specific things. Can I ask you one question? I'm not trying to make it a religious thing, but I had somebody call me and tell me some of these things are in the Bible. Have you ever heard that before?
Yeah, the Old Testament has, and the New Testament, but it has some medicine in it. Not too much. The Quran has medicine in it, Hindu scriptures. But we get to the Bible, some of the specifics are there. Purge yourself with hyssop, so that you'll be well, so that you'll be clean. Hyssop is actually wild oregano. It's from the word in Hebrew is esoph. It doesn't mean hyssop. It means oregano in the mountains.
Oh, really?
It just so happens that oregano is a germicide. Black seed is mentioned in the Bible, where black seed, we now know, it strengthens the heart. It's good for asthma. It's a general tonic for the body.
Oh, wow.
And
when you talk about all these things, here's a question I have. about whenever I hear these things about oregano or turmeric or gosh, you hear about all kinds of things.
Well, cinnamon you hear about, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cinnamon. Yeah, okay. So now if I go to the health food store, I can find cinnamon in a pill. If I go to the grocery store, I can buy cinnamon in a shaker.
Yeah.
I mean, am I getting the same benefits if I get it from the shaker?
Well, the shaker spice is interesting because some of it's irradiated. A lot of it is, so it's not quite as medicinal. They just automatically, to pass it through the FDA, hit it with gamma radiation.
Oh, that ruins it?
Yeah, it stays in there. It doesn't mean it's all bad, but if you were to, take 2 teaspoons of commercial cinnamon, you're still going to get some benefit for diabetes, right? But if you go to the health food store and you get organic extract of cinnamon, it might be more potent.
Well, what does that do for diabetes?
It reduces blood sugar. Cinnamon, as sweet as it is, it has natural insulin-like molecules that, cinnamaldehyde, for instance, that act as an insulin.
Really?
I'll tell you something. Yeah, I'll tell you something even more potent is cumin. Who would ever think that cumin seed is a decided potent anti-diabetic agent? But then again, that is mentioned in the Bible. Now, if we retract a little bit, go back just slightly to oregano, which is the main subject of the Cures in the Cupboard, the wild oregano. The commercial spice isn't even oregano most of the time. It's Mexican sage, Moroccan thyme, Spanish thyme, French oregano, and we found the villagers in Turkey, and a lot of it comes from Turkey and Greece where the main oregano grows. We found the villagers in Turkey grinding up leaves, 10 leaves to 1 part oregano. Not that kind of leaf like the weed, right?
Yes.
But just they grind up leaves of trees,
Okay.
bushes, because they cut it. Otherwise, they can't meet the cheap spice demanded by the spice trade.
Oh, okay.
So that's why if you went to the health food store and you said, I want some wild oregano from a cold, flu, congestion, asthma, I heard the doctor saying it was good for all kind of things, bronchitis, sinusitis, and I'd like to try it, you have to buy the oil of oregano, which is distilled from wild oregano. And I tell everybody, specifically, go get the P73. It's more money, but it's 100% wild. It's not mixed with anything. It's not fake oregano.
Okay, but that wouldn't be in the cupboard. That would be something different, right?
You'd have to stuff it into the cupboard, which you would probably do because it's so effective as a germicide. Like for example, if you had, and it's good topically, but if you had an earache, sinusitis, bronchitis, hay fever, rhinitis, which is pretty common in your area, especially bronchitis, chronic cough, irritation. You just take 5 drops out of the tongue twice a day, and you could never duplicate it by shaking the spice. And you would notice the change in a day. It's much like the mustard plaster, which was effective almost immediately.
Okay.
Because it's a germicide.
So, okay, here's a question I have. When using my grandmother's story, she poured it in my ear, and it directly contacted whatever was hurting. If you have a rash and you rub something on the rash, it's directly touching that rash. But what if you have, like you said, a heart condition? Nothing actually directly touches the heart. Am I right about that? It has to go through your digestive system.
Yes, that's right. Unless you do sublingual. When you like sublingual nitroglycerin, see? So because right there it goes through the membranes.
Oh, so it does go directly to your heart.
Yes, and just so it turns out that oil of wild oregano, this P73, is better than nitro for angina. And I made that discovery and I put it in the book. And so we find out that nitric acid is a problem, right? You have to get that regulated, and the oregano does that. And then the Turkish investigators, a lot of times these folk medicines are proven by science, found that if you take the wild oregano, oil of oregano, or juice of oregano, it increases the pumping power of the heart. The heart becomes more vigorous. Ha-ha! We should be using that purge every day if we have cardiac conditions. I'm going to take a shot of it right now.
So okay, so if I go to the Italian restaurant every day and there's always oregano in Italian food.
Yeah.
I'm not doing the same thing?
Not quite, but I still think it's a good idea to eat more oregano, cumin, and cinnamon. No, when you get the pizza spice, it's either 5 parts oregano to 5 or up to 9 parts weed, not that kind of weed,
No.
and 1.
I know. I'm waiting
One
for that.
Gotcha. Okay. And that's why it's so different. Okay. Let's take a little break and we'll be right back. This is fascinating. If you have a question for the doctor, we encourage you to call. The number is 622-9622. Dr. Cass Ingram will tell us more when we come back.
The weather is brought to you by myfwc.com. Safe boating is no accidents. Wednesday will be a warm one with partial sunshine and a high of 83 to 87. Partly cloudy and mild winds tonight, low 62 to 66. Thursday, more clouds and sun and warm, high 81 to 85. For Friday, mostly cloudy with a shower or two, highs in the upper 70s to lower 80s. From the Florida Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Joe Lundberg.
Good credits, bad credits. It's none of our business because we're not an auto dealer. We're not a bank. We're not your mother. We're OcalaForSale.com. Marion County's marketplace for cars, trucks, and SUVs. We've got thousands of sellers standing by to take your call. No middleman. But hurry, don't walk, don't run. Just sit down and log on to OcalaForSale.com. Prices and inventory change daily. Offer does not include dealer upcharge. Undercutting, rust proofing, factory surcharge, or delivery fee. See website for details.
Hi, I'm Leah Caruso with Strive Rehabilitation, inviting you to join me Thursday at 11 a.m. for Health Matters. Ocala Health and Strive have teamed up to bring you the latest information on good health services available to you right here at home. This vital information will help you make informed decisions about your health. So don't forget to join me here at 11 a.m. Thursday. It's news you can use from Ocala Health, Strive, and your friends here at WOCA.
17 minutes after 9 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Dr. Cass Ingram is on the phone. Doctor, we do have a phone call coming in, and so
Yes, no problem.
let me connect you right to the phone call, and then I have something. I was tell you something somebody recommended for me that actually helped a lot. No, well, let me do the phone call first. That's my teaser.
Okay.
Good morning. You're on the air with Dr. Ingram.
Good morning, Doctor. It seems to me that a lot of our stuff that we get actually comes from Greek and Roman times, like it's a sorry thing that all the libraries of Alexandria were done away with, and the Roman legions had physicians that used staples to close up wounds. They used vinegar a lot as a antiseptic, and they had a lot of other cures that I only read about vaguely, and I'm just wondering, if we ever found out all the stuff that the Roman Empire and the Greek Empire had in the way of, I would call it medicine or surgery.
Yeah.
Hang on.
I've published on this under a pseudonym it's called Science in the Name of God, in which they invoked the higher powers depending on whatever they worshipped at the time, and they had this policy of Hippocrates, for example, of above all do no harm, and so they used Egyptian medicine, Hindu medicine, Babylonian medicine, Greek and Roman. All of that was combined together, for instance, during the Islamic Empire. Then those books were translated into English in Toledo, or into Spanish into Toledo, Spain, then to Latin and English. And all of our medicine comes from natural medicine through this multiplicity of channels. Now, specifically the Greeks, they used wild oregano stuffed in amphoras of olive oil as a topical rub for overall health and for prevention of disease. And the Romans, now going to the Romans, in their pharmacies, the three main medicines they unearthed in records of were rosemary, sage, wild thyme, and wild oregano. In Roman times, they would trade an equivalent sack of gold for a sack of cinnamon, equal weight.
Wow.
They also used salt. In the old salt of the earth, he was worth his salt. They would trade salt for nuggets of gold. They knew that salt was necessary. Roman soldiers would eat onions before battle because it would give them strength. There's all of this. And they used to, in Greek times, observe animals. they observed that snakes would rub, when they first arose from the wintertime, rub their faces on fennel plants. And they presumed that fennel was good for the eyes. They started giving fennel for eye disease.
Really?
And they found it effective, yeah. So all of this has been lost. And I'm trying to bring that back in some of my books. I splice some of that in here and there.
And just
He's right.
It seems like some of that wisdom or whatever you call it also happened here by the Native Americans, the indigenous people who lived here before we brought whatever we call civilization. Before we committed genocide.
Yeah, well, before we committed genocide, or not we, but the native lore was entirely respected until about 1930, till the big conglomerates wiped all that out.
Yeah.
And it was being used. Now, but back to the ancient Greeks, they used cannabis to knock people out post-surgically so that they would not feel any pain during and after the surgery. Yeah. I mean, we've lost it all.
Wow.
But the caller is right. I'm working on bringing it back. So.
All right, so let me tell you my little story. Okay, so I had I was limping. My legs hurt pretty bad. It's depending. I had a harder time standing. I could walk, but I couldn't stand. I could not stand still. So Robin and I went up to this thing in October where I had to stand still. At this thing in Chattanooga, we went to some convention. I had to stand in that 10 by 10 cubicle for a long time. And my legs hurt so bad. So when I came back here to Ocala, and some of the people here saw me limping, what happened? I said, I don't know. I just hurt my leg while I was standing. And I didn't really I couldn't pinpoint it. I couldn't say it was my knee or my ankle. It was just in my lower legs. So one of the guys who does a show here said to me, that same thing happened to him, and try potassium and vitamin D. Let me tell you, Dr. Ingram, I tried this and it worked. I mean, knock on wood. It went away.
Well, potassium is needed, that's a pretty amazing story, but potassium is needed by the muscles if you're not getting enough dark leafy greens and enough really rich, healthy foods and soups and things. And it can make the heart weak if you're too deficient. Of course, vitamin D is needed for both magnesium and calcium to work. Makes sense. Yeah.
Okay. So what I should have done was eat a lot of vegetables, it sounds like.
Yeah, the vegetables would have helped a lot.
I could have
some real rich vegetable soup.
And isn't that what oregano is? Isn't it
that's a spice. No, the spices are, like the gentleman was saying, the spices grow in the mountains there in Turkey and Greece. And they've been used as medicines more than as food. So now we use them as food, but really they're drugs. When you do the research on extract of wild oregano, they found it obliterates every kind of virus, mold. It kills parasites. It kills bacteria, including E. coli and staph, and it kills MRSA, MRSA. And then it destroys cancer cells. That's a drug. You see? And when you take cinnamon, it lowers blood sugar and improves insulin use. That's a drug.
Wow.
You see?
When people go and they get different kinds of shots for different kinds of flu and things like that, the person that gives them the shot, but they'll say, now this might work if you have this strain, but if you have a new strain, it might not work.
Do you think about how ridiculous it is to say maybe it might work? When you're injecting aluminum salt, squalene, MSG, mercurial compounds, you're injecting live viruses that are a chimera between pig virus and duck and chicken viruses.
Oh.
You're injecting that and say, well, it might work. We don't know for sure what the strains are. Then you put the people at risk. Somebody has a heart attack. Somebody has a stroke from the shot. Somebody has a inflammation reaction. That's about as dumb as I can think. And then, worse, is that you're supposed to boost the immune system, but the injections tear it down.
Oh,
see?
Gee.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
All right,
I thought the immune system was supposed to be boosted so we could kill the virus.
We have a million questions, so let me take another caller. Good morning. You're on the air. Thank you for calling.
Good morning. I'd be interested in knowing how to boost my immune system. But I was wondering, do you have any recommendations for improving digestion and absorption? I try to eat really well, but I'm losing weight, and I'm trying. I know most people are my best friends trying to lose weight. So she says, "Don't say that again, or I'll slap you." But you know.
No, you're right. You could.
I'm not doing a good job of it. So I was wondering if maybe you could recommend some things that might improve digestion and help me absorb what I'm actually eating.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd be concerned if you're losing weight like that you might have parasites or some junk in the gut. I would take the oil of wild oregano, the P73, 5 drops twice a day under the tongue, and something called Oregamax capsules. I would try to knock out whatever is messing up that gut, and then some real good quality raw honey if you're not too sensitive to with the vinegar. With the raw vinegar every morning, every noon, will help the digestion dramatic. You see, you can
vinegar in my water or tea or something.
Well, best to just mix 1 ounce of raw honey with a couple ounces of raw vinegar, and down the hatch. Okay. And then there's an enzyme complex that's really good called Gastronex. If you can look that up on the net or Health Food Store. Gastronex, 2 or 3 with each meal. If you follow that protocol, you'll get a big improvement. You'll stop losing weight. That weight loss is pathological, has to be knocked out. You know, you can't be losing weight like that.
I've actually had an upper and lower endoscopic exam, and the doctor doesn't seem to be able to find anything. And I've asked him about a number of things that I thought of, like, any number of things. And, you know, I'm still fighting this. So I appreciate
Let me ask you a question.
About the honey and vinegar.
Yeah, let me ask you a question. Do you ever have any loose stools, or do you see food in the stool, or what's happening?
Loose sometimes, usually associated with nerves, I think.
Okay.
I've suffered a loss recently, and it's just, it's really, actually not too recently, it's been about a year now, but it's really rocked me.
Okay. Get my book, The Body Shape Diet. Find out if you're low in adrenal, and boost your adrenals.
Okay, Body Shape Diet.
Yeah, study that. Okay?
Okay. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. That was interesting to listen in on.
Very.
You know what I think is going to happen? We're going to get calls, and I'm not going to have answers. So I'm going to ask you, rather than us trying to badger you with more questions, give us a way to get answers. I just heard you mention the book, which I didn't even know about, and then this other book, The Cure in the Cupboard, right?
Yeah, those 2 would be good for... Okay, if they message me, because as a courtesy of the show, I'll respond. CassIngram.com. Simple. CassIngram.com. Hey, doctor, can I get some help, a little bit of help? Here's my email, whatever.
Okay,
or,
all right.
I don't know.
So just go to your website and you have a contact link on there or something?
I guess so. There's something there.
You don't know?
What do I know about it? I'm busy writing books.
Yeah, that's right. He's
Good
too
God.
busy.
All right, I'm going to look it up for you.
He's got somebody to do
Cass
that.
Ingram.com. By the way, while I'm looking this up, one of the other things in the notes that were sent to me was that the I think it was the oregano will cure the toenail fungus problem.
Yeah. See, the wild oregano oil is a very aggressive antifungal, but toenail fungus is a systemic and it's chronic. Is not easy, so you have to take big doses. So they're taking 40 to 80 drops 3 times a day of the oil. You see, and you stick with it. You clip the nail back real aggressively, and you saturate it topically. There's another product that's good called Nail It. You can use them together. Nail It is oregano, clove, and cinnamon oils together.
You look like Cat Stevens. I'm looking at your picture. Oh,
similar.
baby, it's a wild world. Dr. Ingram, thank you so much. I went to your website. I don't know exactly where on there to email you, but I'm sure it's
I don't know, but they'll just figure it out.
It's on there somewhere. Yeah. CassIngram.com, CassIngram.com. Call me if you need that repeated, or go to the guest list for today. You'll find it there as well. Thank you, Doctor.
Yep, bye now.
We'll be right back.
Lillian Wu. President Obama's getting ready to reveal his choice shortly to fill Justice Antonin Scalia's seat on the Supreme Court.
The president has reportedly narrowed his choice down to 3 names, all federal judges. Senate Republicans have vowed to block the president's choice regardless of who he nominates.
Fox Radio's John Decker. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump walking away with major prizes last night. Trump couldn't defeat John Kasich in his home state, Ohio, but he did win Marco Rubio.